I went to Galaxy's Edge last Thursday at Disneyland out in California with a bunch of other EA game changers. I had an absolute blast, and I figured I would let you guys know my, first thoughts now that I'm home about Galaxy's Edge. Had a little time to let it all sink in, think about the impact that it had on me. And I'll start off by saying, out of all the theme parks that I've been to, and I live in Florida and I go to Disney World all the time, Islands of Adventure, Universal, I used to have season passes to all those places. The Galaxy's Edge edition that I went to was without a doubt the most immersive out of any franchise park that I've been to. And one of the things that really kind of seals that deal is the employees, the cast members as they call them. They are all deeply in character, and if you try to have like a real world discussion with them, they'll kind of act ignorant to what you're talking about. I never got a cast member to break. No one in our group did either. They would always stay in character. It was really interesting. You bring something up, even something that is in Star Wars, but they live on Batuu in their minds, in their character, so they don't really know all the happenings like we do as observers on the outside. It's interesting. It makes it fun. It makes it feel like a living, breathing world, and that certainly helps with the immersion factor. The environment that you're in is incredible. When you round the corner, you see the Millennium Falcon sitting there, life-size. People are gathered around it taking pictures, and that alone is almost worth just checking out in Galaxy's Edge. It's kind of like the centerpiece. And just the overall immersion of the place, the little details, is what I loved most about Galaxy's Edge. Now, the Millennium Falcon ride, Smugglers Run, I didn't really care for it that much. On paper, the idea of having like a interactive ride is really cool, but the execution here I thought was pretty wonky in my opinion. So I'll explain how it works a little bit. You're sitting in the cockpit of the Falcon with 5 other people, so there's 6 people total. You have 2 pilots, 2 gunners, and 2 engineers. I played as an engineer both times, and from the people that I was with, their experience was pretty comparable to mine. So you're sitting there as an engineer, and whenever the lights to your left flash, or right depending on which seat you're in, you have to hit the lights that are flashing. It's kind of an interactive way to repair the ship, I suppose. So you're watching the action on screen in front of you, and then alarms start going off and the lights start flashing. There might be like 20 something lights, I'm not too sure, but the lights start flashing and you have to look over and start hitting them. Well, I didn't like that. I wanted to focus on what was happening in front of the screen. It was pretty disorienting. I didn't really understand what was going on until my second ride, where I kind of like disregarded the buttons to my left and I focused more on the screen itself. Because yeah, you want to watch what's going on, right? I would say half of the time, but it probably wasn't that much, maybe 25% of the time. The alarm would go off and I would turn, and for seconds, like my attention would be on these flashing buttons. I felt like a space monkey in the early 60s. It was, I didn't really care for it. I prefer Star Tours, honestly. Star Tours is a more fun ride to me because you're sitting there experiencing something. The interactive ride, like I said, cool on paper. I wasn't that big of a fan of how it played out. Now, if the buttons and the stuff that you interact with was in front of you on some kind of console on the back of the chair in front of you or something like that, and you hit buttons while you could still be facing the screen, that would be a completely different story. I think that would really make the ride feel better as an experience. Maybe they didn't want to do it because, I don't know, that's not the way it is in the movies, but I don't really give a shit about that. You're making a fun ride. Put stuff in front of me so I can still see the screen. But overall, like, my favorite part of that Millennium Falcon ride, to tell you the truth, was walking through the line, because at a certain point you're in the Millennium Falcon. You get inside of the Millennium Falcon, and you're there with the Dejeric, the hologram chessboard thing. And you're in a room, and they do a really good job of limiting the amount of people in this room. So, I had photo ops inside of there with the board, with just the environment. It was great, and you're walking through the halls, and just that immersive moment was probably my favorite thing out of Galaxy's Edge that I experienced for sure. In Galaxy's Edge, there's a shitload of shopping, and I'm not much of a shopper. I'm not much of a collector. If you're into that, and you probably are, the vast majority of Star Wars fans seem to love to get their hands on the physical things. There's plenty for you to get. I believe it's $200 to build your own lightsaber. A bunch of our crew did that. And from what they told me, like, you're basically paying for the experience. Alex from Star Wars Explained said he got chills multiple times while doing it. I completely believe it. I hope everybody got their lightsabers home safe. I guess the blades detached, but who knows if anybody had a big enough suitcase. Hopefully they did. So yeah, I don't really regret not doing that, because like I said, the only things I really buy are like coffee mugs from places I've been and computer parts. The rest of the money goes to my daughter, which I'm completely fine with. But there's a variety of shops. There's like an antique shop that has relics of the past, which is really cool just to go in and kind of admire, because they have all sorts of helmets on the wall and just kind of Easter eggs around. IG-88's there, dead. It's really cool. It's really cool. It's really neat to experience. There's food, obviously. I had ribs, they were okay. I tried the blue milk and the green milk. They were really good, kind of slushies. I couldn't really pinpoint the flavors, but they were good. They're worth getting, in my opinion. The blue milk takes the cake for me. The green milk was a little sour, but they were both good. I wasn't able, and nobody in our party was able to go into the cantina. We didn't know this, but it turns out, like, right when Galaxy's Edge opens, right when they let people inside of it, a ton of people run towards the cantina, I guess, to reserve a spot. And by the time we found that out, obviously all the spots were completely taken and there was no way we were going to be able to go in. So, maybe next time. The way they do it is really great with kind of capacity in visitors at the moment. So you have to reserve a spot. If you're going to Disneyland and you want to go to Galaxy's Edge, you have to reserve a time slot. Time slots are broken up into 4-hour chunks. 4 hours is a long time. I probably spent 2.5 to 3 hours in there, and most of that was just kind of wandering around and observing things and just kind of, hanging out. That being said, they only allow a limited amount of people into Galaxy's Edge at the moment in 4-hour chunks. That really cuts down on the crowd. I was really worried that it was just going to be a madhouse, but I rode the Millennium Falcon ride twice, and we never had to wait longer than 20-25 minutes for it. That was the first time I rode it, in the morning. Oh no, it was like 2 p.m. I believe. The second time I rode it, the wait was like 10 minutes. So I was kind of wrong in my estimation. The time to go is really now, before that reservation system goes away, because I can see when that reservation system goes away, the park being an absolute madhouse without that reservation system. I mean, look at a ride like Avatar. When that first launched, even not too long ago, the wait for that ride was hours and hours and hours, and it wrapped through the park, and it was just so long. I was expecting to have to wait a long time for the Falcon ride. I was pleasantly surprised to see that the reservation system did its job and made for a better experience for sure. So yeah, if you want to go, I think the time to go is now. The later you wait, the more crowded it will become. I have no doubt about that. So overall, my experience at Galaxy's Edge was a lot of fun, especially being able to experience it with, like-minded people, Star Wars YouTubers and stuff like that. Just walking around, admiring things. I didn't see Kylo Ren, I saw Rey and a bunch of First Order Stormtroopers. They do a really fun job, the Stormtroopers do, walking around and kind of like bantering with park guests. And I don't know if their lines are pre-recorded. They sound so good and they're so interactive. I couldn't figure it out. I don't know. Maybe they just have great voices inside and some kind of voice modulation, obviously. But it was really neat. They would go up to people who were taking pictures and obviously talk as if they are here occupying Batuu. And once again, that just added another layer of immersion. It was really great. So I absolutely recommend going to Galaxy's Edge. And like I said, I wouldn't wait. I would go now because that reservation system really did a great job limiting the craziness, which I was surprised to see. So yeah, I appreciate everybody watching this video. Let me know if you've gone to Galaxy's Edge in the comment section below. If you haven't, if you have any questions, I'm sure, in the comment section people will be willing to answer them, and I'll try to get to some if I have some time. HelloGreedo, out.